Let's talk a little bit about the questions around copyright and content. And you were quite clear in report one, which was that the ISPs need to take a role in terms of passing on information to content companies about abuse or illegal download. You mentioned a rights agency, some sort of collective body coming together and acting on behalf of content companies and coordinating the whole effort. And you mentioned, a quite authoritative and disciplined approach to making sure that content was protected, which did feel very much like, well, this is what we've had in the past, this is what needs to happen in the future. Has any of that changed? I mean, will the rights agency happen, and will that work?
Well, genuinely on that, people will have to wait and see the detail. But I must say, I don't think there is anything institutional or reactionary in saying that stealing copyright is wrong. I don't think there is. Intellectual.
It's how you deal with it, isn't it?
But it is how you deal with it. But in the first instance, you have to establish a basic principle. And not only do you have to establish it, you have to be willing to stand up and say, actually, we think this is a principle that is worth standing up for. There is a sort of received wisdom that goes along with what is, let's be honest, majority activity, that, well, it's just the new world. It's just the way it is. No one pays for music. Why should we? And we've taken the view, and we've consulted on it. I have to say, I don't think on that our view has changed, that these are rights owned by the creative producers or the licensors or the publishers.
Yeah.
And that on fair terms, and the definition of fair terms may need to change, probably does need to change, and the way in which people access it needs to be able to change, and the ease and flexibility needs to change, and probably we need some change around the outdated rules on format shifting. So there are things that need to change, but the basic principle that you shouldn't be able to help yourself to someone else's property without some commercial transaction being involved seems to me to be a fair one.
So that takes us back to the ISPs then playing a role in helping to protect, playing a greater role in helping to protect that copyright.
Well, I think there are four parties involved in this particular marriage. There are the distributors, who in this case largely are the ISPs. They are the rights holders themselves, who have an obligation about the way in which they make their rights available, on what terms and in what format. There's the government being clear about what its view of what's legal and how that will be policed. And then there is the consumer having a level of responsibility and ownership for what is acceptable behaviour and what is not. And I think we have to move our position on all four of those.